Hey guys, what's going on? Brendan here, and today I am doing my review of Clown in a Cornfield. So, Clown in the Cornfield is a movie that came out last year that I never watched until the other night after I watched The Devil's Mouth. Um, you can watch my review of that if you want to. That train wreck. Anyway, and I wanted to wait a couple days to review it because of said train wreck that I just mentioned. And I just wanted to make sure I didn't kind of have like rose tinted glasses on, I guess, when it comes to this movie. It's not the best movie I've ever seen. I'm not like going to go some crazy route with this review because there are some issues here. And I thought even watching it originally there were some issues. But this movie is directed by I don't know why I can't think of his name. The director of Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And this very much does have kind of a feel of a movie that is like a horror comedy like Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And it's very fun. It's a very fun film. Let's start with the positives. This movie does have some very good comedy in it. Very good intentional comedy. It's a horror film that has some very good intentional comedy, and I always very much enjoyed that. It's based off of a book series. I haven't read any of the books. I don't know anything about the books. I am reviewing the movie and not the books. As a huge fan of the slasher genre and the horror genre, this movie is bloody. This movie is very bloody, which I appreciate anytime I see a movie that is very, very much a gore fest. As somebody who likes, I wouldn't say this is a gore fest, okay? I don't want to go overboard, but this movie does have some very good gore, some very good practical gore, which again, I always appreciate as a slasher fan. As a fan of the slasher genre, which this is definitely would be a part of. And essentially, this movie, let me give you a little overview of what this movie is about. This movie is about a girl named Quinn who is played by Katie Douglas, who does a fantastic job in this film, by the way. Her and her dad have gone through a tragedy, and they are moving to a different town, mainly because that's what the dad wanted to do. The dad wanted to kind of get away after the loss of her mother and his wife. And this does a very good job. This movie does a very good job of setting that up and setting kind of a conflict up between the two of them, where she didn't completely want to move, but she kind of was okay with it for him. And there is some growth there from her, or you kind of feel like there was some growth from her in that regard. In terms of, she did agree to it. It wasn't like he just did it completely without asking her. And, there's some good things here in terms of character development. It's not like, super in-depth. It doesn't really need to be for a movie like this, to be honest. But I very much did enjoy the characters in this film. Really, even some of the more side characters that we don't get as much of, I did enjoy them as well. And so anyway, this movie is a movie I very much enjoyed. In terms of gore, a few dramatic elements here and there worked. The dramatic elements they tried, to me, worked. And the comedic elements and the horror elements, everything kind of worked in terms of all of that for the most part. This movie, though, does kind of get bogged down, and here's where we're going to get to the negatives. The beginning of this movie is a little slow. And there's a point in this movie where I thought, like, is there really anything to this movie? Is there anything interesting? We're going through the same old, like, slasher tropes, and we haven't, really gotten anywhere yet with those slashers, with, going through the slasher tropes. We haven't really gotten anywhere, outside of just, like, the obvious kind of things that we're going to get in a slasher film. And it is very much a film that is noticeably low budget, like very low budget. And I'm glad that despite that it does work, and despite that they did have a very good cast, a cast that very much worked in this film. But there are moments of things that, like, don't work in terms of how kind of slow this movie does start. It does take a while to get going. But it wasn't something I hated. It wasn't something it takes a while to get going, but not necessarily in a great way. Because there are times when I watch a movie, I'm like, well, it's taking a while to get going, but also I just love these characters so much. And I didn't really feel like I loved these characters so much that, it taking a while to get going completely worked. Another kind of negative for me is, I guess there is a positive here. Another positive was that the movie does kind of surprise me at one point, because I didn't know a certain thing was coming, and then it happens. If you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's sort of towards the middle-ish of the film, and that's when the switch flipped for me, and it went from a movie with characters that I like but don't love, and a movie that was starting out kind of slow, to a movie that I very much enjoyed pretty much from this point forward until we get kind of to the ultimate reveal of the killer. And it's not that it doesn't work, because I get what they were going for, and I understand why, this person is this person, we'll just say, is doing this. And I understand, like, the thought process and everything behind going this route. But I didn't really, I'm trying to think of how to say this without spoiling anything, really. But I didn't, even though I understood it, I didn't like it, because I felt like it was too obvious. This movie is predictable, and in terms of that, the thing that I talked about a while ago, where a thing happens that I didn't expect, was, to me, at least, I didn't predict that. But the ending reveal, I 100% predict it. And, it's a little bit of an issue. It's not like a huge deal for me, but it was a negative, and it was something I think I do need to point out. And then, the other negative is kind of also the ending. And here's the thing. I know that they're setting up for a sequel, and I know that a sequel is apparently in the works now, so that's good. Because I do want to see another one. And so I'm very, because I did enjoy this movie a lot, and you'll get how much I enjoyed this movie at the end of this review, in terms of my rating. But, like, I'm excited for a sequel, and I'm happy that it's getting a sequel. But them kind of holding things for specifically the sequel, which, again, it does happen in the book, because I did look that up to see if that is what happened in the book. In the first book, the ending of this movie is pretty much the ending of the first book, it seems like. And it is, like, they end it here to set up the sequel. So I get it. I just didn't, I feel like the movie just kind of ends without, like, completely a resolution to It's a very specific plot point that I don't want to get into. And there's a couple other little like things that are kind of left dangling a little bit, but it just, those weren't as huge of a deal for as like the big one for me. And if you've seen the movie again, you know what I'm talking about. And maybe it's done better in the book. Maybe it's handled better in the book. I don't know. I haven't read the books. This is not a review on the book. But I don't think it was handled all that well here. So, but I don't really have much else to say about this movie. I am going to give this movie a very positive review at a very positive, like 7 out of 10, maybe 7.5. We'll do 7.5 out of 10. I think that this movie is worth that, but with my little, kind of, criticisms, the one big one, there is one big one. The other ones to me are smaller ones. I do think that me watching this on like a streaming service, I didn't want to give it up because it starting slower was kind of a drag in terms of, because I obviously didn't see this in the movie theater. I watched this on Shudder. So me watching this on Shudder kind of did, the movie dragged a little bit at the beginning. And for an hour and a half movie, it's not great when you're an hour and a half movie and you drag a little bit. But, it's because I liked everything when it stops dragging so much outside of the one kind of major thing. Very positive review. Very happy with it. And excited for whatever the sequel is. But that's really all I have to say. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.